If you saw a man in a faded jacket and scuffed boots sitting alone at a table in one of New York City's most expensive restaurants, you'd probably think he didn't belong there. You might even assume he wandered in by mistake. But that night, the man at the corner table wasn't just another weary face lost in the crowd. He was the hidden owner of the restaurant, a billionaire in disguise, testing whether honesty still existed in a world where everyone had a price. What he didn't know was that a waitress's trembling hand would slip him a note so dangerous, it would change both their lives forever. Ethan Caldwell was worth more than $12 billion, the kind of man who could buy a skyscraper before breakfast and still have time to dictate the front page of the Wall Street Journal. From his penthouse overlooking Central Park, he ruled Caldwell Enterprises, a corporation with fingers in luxury hotels, biotech labs, and even aerospace. But power came with a curse. Every smile around him was rehearsed, every handshake transactional. At 45, Ethan felt surrounded by mirrors that reflected back not who he really was, but who people thought they needed him to be. Every few months, he shed the skin of Ethan Caldwell the billionaire and stepped into the world as Eddie, a man with nothing but a frayed corduroy jacket, a plaid shirt, and boots that had seen better decades. He'd walk into one of his own establishments dressed as if he couldn't afford the tip, and he'd watch, quietly, to see the truth. That evening, he walked into the Silver Ember, his flagship steakhouse in Midtown Manhattan. The hostess, a polished woman with a smile sharp enough to cut glass, looked him up and down with thinly veiled disdain. "Reservation?" she asked, her tone dripping with judgment. "No," Ethan replied in his rougher, borrowed voice. Her smile tightened. "Then the best I can do is a small table near the kitchen." Perfect, he thought. Exactly where he wanted to be. The dining room shimmered with crystal and gold, filled with CEOs, city officials, and old money families. Ethan sat invisible at his wobbly table by the swinging kitchen doors, observing the parade of curated charm. The waiters glided between tables, their grins widening only for the men in Rolexes and women dripping with diamonds. That's when she appeared. Her name tag read Lila Parker. She couldn't have been more than 23. Her ponytail was neat but hurried, her shoes worn so thin they looked ready to split. She placed a bread basket on the table with a faint tremor in her hand. Her eyes, tired yet kind, met his. "Good evening, sir. I'll be your server tonight. Can I start you off with something to drink?" Ethan deliberately ordered the cheapest beer on the menu. No flicker of judgment crossed her face. Just a soft, "Of course, I'll be right back." That tiny act of respect sparked something in him. Unlike the others, she didn't see a nobody in thrift store clothes. She just saw a person. But Lila Parker carried secrets heavier than any tray she balanced. For the last 6 months, she'd been living in fear of the restaurant's manager, Richard Hale. Hale wasn't just a cruel boss, he was extorting her. A single mistake in inventory had given him leverage to accuse her of theft. He twisted the numbers, threatened her with blacklisting, and forced her to cover up his own crimes. Lila's brother, Josh, just 17, was battling cystic fibrosis. Every paycheck she earned was stretched thin to keep his treatments going. Hale knew this and used it like a knife. If she didn't do exactly what he said, doctor invoices, sign off on shipments that never arrived, he would ruin her. She was trapped, and every shift felt like a countdown to disaster. So when the stranger in shabby clothes ordered the most expensive steak on the menu, the $600 Titan's cut, and paired it with a $400 glass of vintage Cabernet, Lila froze. Was he delusional? Testing her? Or worse, sent by Hale himself? Her instincts told her something else. His eyes weren't mocking or reckless. They were searching, almost challenging her to treat him with dignity. Against all logic, she trusted him. But Hale noticed too. He pulled her aside, his hiss like a snake's. "That bum at table 12? If he can't pay, it's coming out of your pocket. Remember your little debt." His eyes gleamed with menace. "Don't screw this up, Parker." Her heart pounded, but when she returned to Ethan's table, she served the wine with a steady hand. He studied her carefully. "Rough night?" he asked casually. Her lips curved into a brittle smile. "Just another night in paradise." The meal stretched on. Ethan asked her questions, not about the menu, but about the city, the neighborhoods, the people. He listened, truly listened, and for the first time in months, Lila felt seen. But she also felt the weight of the napkin folded inside her apron, the one she had been debating all night. Should she risk it? Could she trust him? Finally, as she cleared his plate, her trembling hand slipped the folded napkin beneath the bill tray. He expected maybe a phone number, a desperate plea for cash. But when he unfolded it under the streetlight outside, the words hit like ice water. "You're being watched. The shipments aren't what they seem. The manager's ledger will destroy you if you don't find it. Don't trust the kitchen. Don't trust anyone." Ethan's chest tightened. This wasn't just about one crooked manager. If the supply chain was compromised, his empire could crumble. He called his right-hand man, Marcus Bell, a former Marine turned COO, the only person who knew about Ethan's secret outings. Marcus wanted to call in auditors. Ethan refused. If Hale knows we're onto him, he'll bury the evidence. I need to see that ledger tonight. Marcus sighed. Then you're not going in alone. I'm calling someone. That someone was Kate Monroe, a security specialist with a past in military intelligence. Sharp-eyed, calm under pressure, she met Ethan in a dark alley behind a black SUV. Marcus says you want a ghost, she said flatly. You sure you're ready for what you might find? What they uncovered was darker than either imagined. The ledger in Hale's office revealed shipments tied to a shuttered meatpacking plant in Jersey, one condemned for salmonella outbreaks. Hale was cutting deals with organized crime, funneling diseased meat into the restaurant's kitchens, selling poison to New York's elite for top dollar. But there was a twist Ethan hadn't expected. Hale wasn't working alone. The ledger pointed higher, to someone inside Caldwell Enterprises itself. Someone in Ethan's own circle had been pulling the strings, and Hale was just the pawn. The next morning, Ethan returned, not as Eddie in thrift store clothes, but as Ethan Caldwell, billionaire, flanked by FBI agents and Marcus. The staff froze. Hale's smirk evaporated as Ethan locked eyes with him. You thought you were bleeding me dry, Ethan said coldly. But you made one mistake. You underestimated the girl with the worn-out shoes. Lila stood trembling as Hale tried to shift the blame onto her. Ethan silenced him with a wave, revealing video recordings from Hale's office, proof of his blackmail, proof of his ties to the crime ring. Hale was cuffed on the spot. But the real twist came hours later. When Marcus's investigators finished digging, they discovered the name attached to the offshore accounts receiving Hale's dirty money. Arthur Sloan, Ethan's own CFO. The betrayal cut deeper than Ethan expected. Hale's arrest was only the beginning. The rot ran to the very top of his empire. As the agents led Hale away, Ethan turned to Lila. You saved my company. You saved lives. And now, it's time someone saved you. He announced Caldwell Enterprises would establish a trust to cover her brother's medical bills for life. And more than that, he created a new position, Director of Integrity and Oversight, for her to run, reporting directly to him. Lila's eyes brimmed with tears. Why me? She whispered. Because when everyone else stayed silent, Ethan said, his voice steady, you chose courage. And so, what began as a billionaire's cynical test ended as something far greater, a story of betrayal, bravery, and the reminder that true integrity is priceless.